we've got enough people in now that we'll get started, Lizzie. Thank you so much for joining Lizzie and I this afternoon. We've just put your cameras and your audio on mute for now, just for the purposes of whilst we're recording this session, it just hides your faces from the screen. But because of the importance of this project, we do want to have a bit of a discussion with you all at the end, because I just think it's a really great opportunity for Lizzie and I to learn more about your current challenges around the area that we're going to be talking about today. So we will turn the video off at the end and then invite you on to have a discussion if you would like to stay. So firstly, just to introduce myself, my name is Elaine Morris. I'm founder of Curious Edge, and I'm a management and leadership coach, but I also have 25 years of commercial experience in market research. So I have a good background in a lot of different areas. And Lizzie, I'll just get you to introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Lizzie Huxford. I'm a occupational therapist, and I've got further qualifications in sensory processing. My majority of my career has been in the NHS across mental health and learning disability services, from the community inpatients into also medium high secure hospitals. So I've worked across the lifespan with lots of different people. I've got a lot of experience working with the neurodiversity communities, and I'm very interested and very passionate about supporting people across the lifespan, and that's kind of why I'm on this project with Elaine, because it's all about how you can support people with the right support, the right environment and the right approach to get the best out of them. And as an OT, I feel like I can really bring my skill set to help employers with their employees, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that is later.
Thank you. So just to give you a bit of background as to the project. So this programme is called the Employer Support Programme, and it's a pilot programme that is being directed by York and North Yorkshire Combined Authority, but the funding comes from the Department of Work and Pensions, which you may have heard about, but it's around Get Britain Working, an economic inactivity trailblazer. So there are a number of trailblazer programmes going on, but we are specifically looking at the employer support programme. And you may have seen in the headlines recently, a lot of headlines around the cost of covering a sickness bill, so people being off or long-term sick from work, and that's increasing, unfortunately. So this programme is directly looking at how do we help employers to give them the right skills and tools to try and support people coming back into work after long-term sickness, and also about maintaining them whilst they're at work and giving the right environment and the best opportunity to thrive while they're at work, because obviously it takes up so much of our life that it's important that we do as much as we can to support individuals returning to or staying in work. So but this programme looks at a number of different things. It looks at supporting people with the practical skills, leaders and managers, particularly with dealing with that. But it's also about boosting confidence, not just of managers and leaders to deal with these situations, but also from individuals in the workplace who may be struggling right now. And the ultimate aim of that is obviously reducing sickness levels at work. So in terms of this project and who is eligible to the funding, organisations have to be located in York and North Yorkshire region, and that's quite important. What may be that you are part of a national organisation or a bigger business, and as long as you have an office or a place of work in this region in York and North Yorkshire, then that's fine. Okay, so we've named this, our particular programme, we've named Thrive at Work. It's an inclusive futures programme. And this is a partnership between my own business, Curious Edge, and Lizzie's business, OT4me. And I think it's something, what we have is something quite unique, not just because we are passionate about that. I'm deaf, and I also live in a household with neurodivergent individuals. And for me, this it's very, very important that we support organisations to help them as much as we can in the future. And obviously, when I can bring leadership coaching to that and help and support managers and leaders, Lizzie brings something completely different with her sensory processing expertise to support people in the workplace with practical changes that organisations can implement to make that environment better. And she'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. So what I can bring to this programme is about is the leadership skills, and that for me is about giving leaders and managers the tools to have a really good conversation, essentially have an effective conversation. And I am a big believer in having applying coaching to that, so that we do learn to how do we actively listen, how do we really get under the skin of the challenges of how people are feeling and the impact that that is having on not just at work, but also it affects everything that's going on outside of that. So it's about giving them the managers and leaders the tools really to understand those challenges, but also empowering individuals, just giving them opportunity to bring back some of that self-belief and that confidence that they've probably lost, particularly if they've been off on long-term sick. And obviously we want to help them progress within an organisation. Sometimes it happens that because circumstances have changed, that the role that they're in is actually perhaps not the right one for them anymore. But that's not about necessarily them leaving the organisation. That's just facilitating the conversation to understand what maybe there's other opportunities and other roles within the organisation that would better fit what they need at this time. Lizzie, occupational therapy, what are you going to bring to this?
So yeah, thanks, Elaine. So with my role, I'm going to bring about talking about mental health and helping educate employers and employees on the different types of mental health conditions that might be quite commonly seen in the workplace, and also some practical strategies to help with that and with stress management. I'm also going to talk to you about the different neurodiverse conditions, what they are, what they might look like, and also some really good practical kind of generic stuff that you can implement in your workplace to help those people, because quite often someone with dyslexia has certain recommendations which actually are really appropriate for somebody that may have ADHD, and these are some really useful generic strategies that can help them function to their best, like executively function as best as possible within their workplace. So I'll talk to you a little bit about neurodiversity, what they are, and some strategies, also maybe some hidden disabilities as well, because quite often there's certain health conditions that people don't know a lot about, like hypermobility, POTS, conditions like this. And just again talking about some really easy ways that you can make practical adjustments in the workplace, because as an OT, part of my healthcare kind of what we do as a healthcare is we assess the person, the environment, and the occupation being work, and we want to make sure we've got everything around that person so they ultimately thrive and they're working to their best, and their well-being as well, their mental health as well. What also I'm going to bring as well, which is a little bit different, is I can also offer sensory workplace audits to ensure that your workplace environment supports the executive functioning, which means your brain basically functioning as best as possible, and the well-being of the person. Simple little things that you can change in your environment can make a huge difference for all of your team, not just people that are neurodiverse, because environments are so important about how they impact us and how we function. And I can come in and bring my expertise around that because of my training in sensory processing. I understand the anatomy and the science behind how the brain interprets information and how the environment impacts that. And what I can do is a walkthrough audit of your environment, and I can provide you a recommendations report. And sometimes these are really cost effective as well. They're not expensive, big things that you need to do. Sometimes it's as simple as just changing your light bulb or isolating smells. But I'm happy to do that with you. And I have done these on large scales with the NHS on some mental health inpatient wards. I've done it with some schools. I've done it with other businesses with some really, really good outcomes. So that's what I'm hoping to bring. But also one more thing I forgot to mention is I'm also helping Elaine with some of the individual coaching sessions as well, around if anybody's got really, if you've got somebody who's really struggling, especially if it's potentially a neurodiverse employee with their kind of sensory needs and feeling a bit overwhelmed, I can do some sensory kind of therapeutic based coaching with them around that as well to help them manage those needs. And that's my bit.
And one of the coaches that we will be bringing in for to support some of the smaller businesses in this piece of work has extensive HR background as well. So we want to make sure that smaller businesses who don't have an HR function or who have access to that, it can be challenging dealing with different situations. So we'll have some element of expertise to think about all of these things that we are going to be coaching around, you know, for managers and leaders and coaching skills and effective conversations and all of the stuff that Lizzie's going to bring. Actually, how does that then play into what you should be thinking about your processes and procedures for recruitment as well as retention? So we'll be bringing that angle too. Okay. So what we're going to offer. So we have 3 fully funded work streams of support that we have that we've outlined. One of those work streams is to support small and micro businesses, and we'll be having 4 different cohorts of that programme. We'll also be offering, for a small number of larger employees, we also will be offering a bespoke programme because we realise that challenges may be quite different in a bigger organisation, and recognition that they probably already have their own HR departments and perhaps don't need that level of support. So we have a bespoke programme for that as well. And then any business who we support through either the small business programmes or the larger in-house bespoke programme, if they have identified maybe 1 or 2 individuals who they feel would really benefit from additional support, then we also have a programme for individuals as well. So let me just take you through the detail of each of those. So for the small businesses, what we've outlined is basically we're hoping to do 4 different cohorts if we can. Locations aren't set because it will depend on where the bulk of people are coming from, but we are hoping to spread right across the North Yorkshire region. So perhaps one in York, Skipton, Pickering and Harrogate. But as I say, that's still to be defined. Each of those cohorts will have 3 days of workshops, and these will be interactive workshops. So workshop 1 we're suggesting will be around delivering coaching techniques. So we'll be looking at coaching, how to have an effective conversation, but more importantly, we'll also be talking about how do you work with an individual to really understand their strengths, their motivations, their values and how things have shifted. It's one of the things I've realised over all of the coaching that I've done over the years is that I work with a lot of people who are more in the sort of middle age, and as we change through life, our values shift, and it's not until we actually stop and realise how much things have changed that it catches up with us. And actually, if our circumstances change, sometimes we need to adapt with that, and if we don't and values clash, then that's when it can lead to stress and burnout, and unfortunately long-term sickness. So we will be talking about how do you really empower individuals in your organisation, but we'll be doing this through looking at you as well, so that once you've practiced that, then the idea is that you will then take that back into your team. And then the second workshop will be Lizzie. So as she's explained there, she'll be going through some really great stuff around looking at the sensory integration in your environment. It'll be looking at different neurodivergent types and how tips on how to support that. And we'll also be looking at stress within that as well, stress triggers and stress management techniques. The third workshop we'll be looking at more of an HR focus. So how does what you've learned play into thinking about your processes and procedures and what you might be able to adapt to support you better in the future. So that is our cohort programmes for the small to medium-sized organisations. For the larger organisations, what we're suggesting is a bespoke 2-day programme, and what we'll do is work with you there and understand what are the main challenges that you're facing right now, and we will adapt our approach to suit that. So a couple of the bigger organisations that we've already onboarded for this, what we're doing is actually a run of half-day sessions for the senior management team, and we'll talk about a lot of the things I've already mentioned, and then Lizzie will do a half-day session maybe once or twice with the wider organisation, so that we all learn about these things. So we've also put into this one that if you want to have a workplace assessment from Lizzie's team, then that's also an offer as part of this programme. The individual programmes, that is for, as I mentioned earlier on, individuals perhaps who've returned to work after long-term sickness or are struggling at work for whatever reason. It might be a health-related issue. It could also be confidence barriers as well. So you've noticed that perhaps they've just they've changed, their behaviour's changing. They're perhaps appearing quite down quite often or depressed, or anything that you've noticed that could be a trigger to them potentially going off on sick leave in the future, then this is probably the programme for them. And we're doing this in two formats. One format, the first one will be cohorts, like the small business one will have several cohorts running across North Yorkshire, and that will be 3 days of workshops with them, and that will be very much about building their confidence. So we'll start from the bottom. We'll be exploring, some of their strengths. We'll be looking at their skills, and the reason for that is very much about just making them realise how amazing they actually are, what they've achieved and where they've got to in their lives, and just starting to build their confidence again from the ground up, getting their self-belief back. And the reason we do that in more than one session is it's really important to build on that. I don't believe you can go into a 1 day or a half-day session and then suddenly feel empowered and confident and all of these things and feeling better at the end of it. It certainly helps, but that's why we've done it through a number of steps. If the individual is not ready for that, perhaps being in a group format isn't the right approach, then we are also offering some one-to-one sessions. Now that could either be with me, taking them through all of the empowerment programme that we'll be having in the cohorts, but just with me instead, or one of the other coaches that's working on this programme with us. Or if it's much more around, perhaps they are neurodivergent, perhaps Lizzie, they might benefit from spending some time with Lizzie and her team to work through what some potential adaptations might be in the workplace, or anything that can do to help them with whatever their situation is. We also have access to a counsellor as well, so if they need a bit of counselling support, then we can offer a few sessions of that also. So that's the individuals programme. So what we're looking to do here is, the reason that Lizzie and I have kind of pulled this programme together is I think they offer something quite different but very complementary. So this is looking at the whole system. We call it the whole system approach, but it focuses on people. So it looks at leadership, it looks at building confidence, and it also looks at the culture of the organisation as well, and what do we need to do to really kind of maybe make some changes that will support everybody in the organisation. We know change comes from the top, so that's why we really want to include managers and leaders in this programme. We're looking obviously at helping environments with practical adjustments and inclusive policies that might be influenced by what we've been talking about throughout the programme, but also to drive sustainable change in the way that we recruit and the way that you engage and retain people, and really kind of focusing on that building an inclusive culture. And of course, the most important thing for me through any of the programmes that I run is about empowerment. So looking at empowerment through empathy, compassion, authenticity, but also accountability, and building it in a way that's sustainable to help and support people become more resilient. We have a very strong delivery team. So there's obviously myself and Lizzie who will be managing the programme, having the conversations with organisations, but we also have in our team another 3 ladies which are who have incredible backgrounds. All of these ladies have commercial backgrounds of over 20 years experience. So Charlotte and April are co-directors of the Workplace Collective, and they both bring strengths in people development and are coaches also. Rebecca is also an executive coach, and she brings with her over 20 years experience with human resources and the work that she does there. So you might, if you decide to come on board on one of the programmes, you may see one of us, or you actually may see all of us. It just depends on who will be in the delivery team for your organisation. Okay. So if you would like to know more about the programme, please do get in touch with us. There is a specific email address set up, hello@curiousedge.co.uk, or please just do get in touch with us after after the rest of the presentation today, and we would love to hear more about your organisations and talk to you about whether this programme fits and how we can shape it to your particular challenges.